How do we interpret symbolic language in Jesus' birth narratives? Imagine trying to understand a secret code that reveals more than just words. That's what interpreting symbolic language in Jesus' birth stories is like. These stories are not just about historical facts but about messages that point to deeper truths. When we look at the accounts in Matthew and Luke, we see symbols that connect Jesus' birth to God's promises from long ago. These symbols help us see how Jesus is the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies, and how his arrival marks a new chapter in God's plan for salvation. For example, Luke's story about Jesus being wrapped in swaddling clothes and placed in a manger isn't just about his humble beginnings. It shows his full humanity and his role as spiritual nourishment. The manger, which was a feeding trough for animals, hints that Jesus will feed people spiritually and sustain their souls. The shepherds visiting Jesus in Luke's account symbolize humility and God's care for ordinary people. Their visit highlights that Jesus' message is for everyone, not just the powerful. In Matthew's story, the star that guides the wise men is more than just a bright light. It's a symbol of divine guidance and fulfillment of prophecy. The wise men's journey shows that Jesus' birth is significant for all nations, not just one group. Their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh also carry symbolic meaning, representing Jesus' kingship, divine nature, and suffering. Other symbols include the characters like Zechariah, Elizabeth, and Simeon, who are filled with the Holy Spirit. Their words and actions show divine approval and point to Jesus as the promised Messiah. The stories also connect to Jewish traditions, like the presentation in the temple, which emphasizes Jesus' role as the fulfillment of God's promises to Israel. Theological themes run through these stories, like the Holy Spirit's activity, which signals that Jesus' birth begins a new age of divine revelation. They reminded us that Jesus is both fully divine and fully human, entering our world to bring salvation. These symbols invite us to look beyond what happened on the surface and see the spiritual meaning behind each detail. When studying these stories, it's helpful to understand the Old Testament background and Jewish customs. This context makes the symbols clearer and shows how they point to Jesus' identity. Recognizing these symbols helps us appreciate the richness of God's plan and how Jesus' birth is a turning point for both ancient Israel and the whole world. In the end, interpreting symbolic language in Jesus' birth stories is about understanding that these stories are filled with meaning designed to reveal who Jesus is and what he came to do. They connect the past with the present, showing us that God's promises are still active today. By paying attention to these symbols, we can better grasp the significance of Jesus' arrival and what it means for our lives now.